I quit my job with no backup plan. I was earning six figures working fully remote for one of the largest oil and gas companies in the world. But after 8 years, 5 roles, and one interesting experience, I decided to go all in with entrepreneurship and leave the corporate world for good. And 1 year on from making that decision, I'm sharing my journey. So if you're thinking of quitting your job, this video is for you. So grab that coffee and let's lock in. After university, I landed one of the highest paying commercial grad schemes in the country at BP, earning 50K straight from university. And if you're in America, you might think 50K is nothing. But here in the UK, I was classed as a high earner. And quite honestly, I thought this was the dream come true. But I slowly realized that this wasn't exactly what I thought it was gonna be. In my second and third placement, I was based in the Swindon office. And I remember looking around at all of my colleagues. There was people who were out of shape, they were weak, they were timid, and they looked like their soul and personality and their fire had been ripped out of them. And I saw my future in these 20, 30 years hanging out in this office with these people. This was my future, and I didn't aspire to be like any of them. And this is when I started to plan my exit. And I started tons of businesses, any business that you could possibly start. I had done it. I had invested in Dogecoin and cryptocurrency. I bought property and rented it. I even started a fitness brand. And when I was earning a few £100 from renting a spare room or £20 from selling a t-shirt, that lit me up and excited me a lot more than any $1 million deal that I was helping to crack at BP. So why didn't I quit sooner? First off, I was earning a lot more than any of my graduate friends and all of my family. And when I would speak to my dad about the potential of quitting my job, he'd say, what would you do next? You work for the biggest company, you have a great pay, pension, dental, private healthcare, bonuses, you have basically 150 days off a year, and you have a career for life. What is this next move? Secondly, as a man, you need to be comfortable starting off at zero again and summiting a new mountain. But converse to that, you also need to be mindful whether you're just quitting early because the going's got tough. You know, when you're at the gym, you train to failure. You don't train to mild discomfort. And I was mindful that I might have been quitting before I'd finished the grad scheme, before I'd got to first level leader management, which was ultimately my goal. And thirdly, and the most important reason, was golden handcuffs, and they had me secure tight. In my first ever week, I sat down with my mentor, Paul, and he gave me one piece of advice. Do not leave a company unless you have this one thing. He negotiated redundancies 4 times, and he said, if you're gonna leave a company, you're gonna leave so much on the table if you do it on your own terms. When you're planning an exit, make sure to negotiate a redundancy. And I knew many, many people who got offered 6 figures to leave the company. And the crazy thing is, I know lots of people who didn't take it. So it's one piece of advice for me to break them golden handcuffs was to get made redundant. So what changed? A few things pushed me over the edge. I just moved from sales to marketing and I got a promotion. And even though this was a really smart move for my career, in reality, it kind of made my life very not enjoyable because of the boss. Most people, when they leave a company, they don't leave a bad company, they leave a bad boss. And that was exactly my situation. She was everything and then nothing. She was hot and she was cold. She was chaotic in her personal life and chaotic in her professional life. But if you want to commit career suicide, then tell your boss the honest truth, because your boss can be your biggest detractor or your biggest advocate. And the way you get them on your side is to lie. Tell them they're amazing, brown nose them, manage upwards if you want to use the corporate jargon term. But if you want to progress your career, you need to lie, you need to play the part and wear that corporate mask with pride. My new team was in global marketing and we were meant to be setting the strategy for BP Global, and I was so excited to learn about marketing. But I quickly realized that I wasn't actually gonna learn that much about marketing, hooks and content, because I was in a meeting and there was 15 of us on a call. There's like $1 to $2 million worth of salary on the call. And we were watching an advert that was produced for South Africa. And we played Spot the Diversity Hire. And we were patting ourselves on the back on how diverse the ad was. And I realized that even though this was progressing my career, it was not progressing anything meaningful. I realized that these skills beyond the corporate world kind of mean nothing, because these guys were really excited pointing out the diversity. And for me, I thought this was BS, quite honestly. The final straw for me was coming back from paternity leave, and I should have been excited to come back to work. I should have been energized after some time off, but actually it was the exact opposite. That feeling, that noise that was asking me to quit, that feeling that I should have quit, was louder than ever. And I remember I had a meeting in Birmingham the first week back, and I was in a hotel the night before, 11 p.m., 10:30 at night, looking up, and this is where I said my first ever prayer. Please, 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 will you give me an opportunity to leave? Break free of these handcuffs, these golden handcuffs, and give me that opportunity to leave, because I couldn't see an out at this point. By no exaggeration, at that very moment, minutes later, a call came in my diary. And I had that classic call come in my calendar with HR, my boss's boss, and me, with no agenda. And the next day I turned up to that call. Adam, we have bad news. You are at risk of redundancy. And I knew going into this meeting, it was either redundancy or I'm being fired. But either way, I had my opportunity and I had to turn my camera off, turn myself on mute, put my camera down, and I screamed, "Fuck yes." This was exactly what I was hoping for. Most people would have met this news with complete shock and surprise, but Birmingham may as well have been freaking Wonderland. I was in pure ecstasy. My drive home from Birmingham, I don't think I've had a more ecstatic drive in my freaking life. This was the news that I've been waiting for, and someone had answered my call immediately. And even though this was the opportunity I was waiting for, I still had the fear and I still doubted myself. And there was plenty of opportunities that was thrown my way to re-enter back into the corporate world. This was basically a voluntary redundancy because they told you basically in Feb, and by the time August, September around, you would have left. But they was asking you to apply for so many jobs and throwing opportunities at you. And I did apply for one job, but the day of the interview, I messaged the interviewer and I just basically said, "Thank you, but no thank you. I need to take this opportunity." And I knew the payout at that point. And if I had got this job and they said, "Hey, look, we'd love to hire you," and I said no to that and rejected it, my payout, my prorated bonus, my shares that were all maturing because of me leaving, I would have actually foregone. What changed my perspective is I realized I have one life and I'd been wasting my 20s just doing a job that I didn't like to save money because I come from a very financially difficult position. Money was the primary objective, but for me, because now I've spent that, I've grinded it out, I've got some good money, I realized that I had one life and I wanted to take that risk and really bet on myself. The life has this really funny way of working out. When I asked for the opportunity to leave, I also got given a roadmap to where I wanted to be as well. When I made that decision to leave, I got the opportunity in February to be made redundant. That's when I got told. And in April, I really made that decision. I'm gonna go for this and take that opportunity. The very next day or in that week, my best friend from university had just started a community and it took off in a big way, really fast. And he asked me if I'd be free to potentially help him run and grow this business. If he'd asked me at any point in the last 10 years, I'd have had to say no. I don't have any time. I've got a career that I need to focus on and my business that I need to manage. This was the only point in the last 10 years where I could have said yes, and I'm gonna go all in with you. He invited me to Vegas to go meet Alex Hormozi, Sam Ovens, the school team, and all the school games winners, people that had won this competition in the last month. There was no money on the table. There's no offer on the table. I just knew this was creating content with the people that I wanted to work with fellow entrepreneurs, making and growing a community and doing entrepreneurship. I didn't know exactly where it was going to lead, but I knew this is what I wanted to be, and I went all in. The cosmos had aligned. My best friend from university set this community up, asked me for help the moment I decided that I was going to be made redundant. So where am I now? Well, after almost 1 year, I'm the community manager for AI Automations by Jack. For the last year, I've helped run a 7-figure AI and automations business. And in life, you need two things to motivate you, something to run towards and something to run away from. I'm running towards being the best version of myself and making the most of this wonderful life that we've all been gifted with. But to run away from, I don't want to have a corporate job again. I want to run away from that corporate world. Maybe at one time, I didn't believe that that was possible, but doing this for the last year, I don't consider myself an aspiring entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur. And if you want to follow along that journey of entrepreneurship, cracking $1 million deals, then subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.